Now, Maru has gone for a command center first, right, but then immediately into a lot of aggression. 2 factories are done for Maru, and we're going to be expecting that Blue Flame Hellion. The Viking's going to push away any Overlord presence that Solar might throw out. Solar's actually usually very cautious with his Overlords to begin with, actually. I think he's very aware of the time periods where Terrans just throw out all of these Marine openers, specifically to hunt Overlords. So he's like, nah, I'm just not going to bother. My Overlords are really far away to begin with. So I would say he usually doesn't get a Suicide Scout, but just in case, that will deny him that, and then the Blue Flame Hellions might just show up, and Solar will have no idea. So he might know that something is up, but as far as actually being prepared for this directly, that so far isn't really happening. We would expect Roaches to be a common response. Okay, all right. As I say it, Roachborn does go down, but is it too late? Infernal Pre-Igniter is already done. Hellions probably going to pop out and try roasty-toasting all these drones in just 1 second.
I love the way he's doing this as well. He's essentially scouting ahead right here to make sure that there's no Zerglings on this attack path. He's trying to get to the other side of the map completely unscouted, and now is the time that Solar's finally going to see this. He was making drones until just a couple of seconds ago. Here's the Blue Flame.
I do not see very much that combats Blue Flame Hellions. The Lings can try and chick them up for a little bit, but they're not going to be necessarily killing them all that fast. Here come the Cavalry, here come the Queens, but they're also kind of slow, and the Hellions are going around them, trying to catch the tail end of that drone pool, but so far the fancy footwork has worked out for Solar, as he also adds on an Evolution Chamber block to the third base, and he handles this about as gracefully as you can expect a Zerg too.
Yeah, that was absolutely, perfect crisis management right there from Solar, right? I mean, only losing 3 drones, that is not what I expected at all. Maybe there's going to be a couple of worker kills right here on the back of it. But honestly, considering he didn't know what he was going up against until the absolute last possible moment, yeah, he barely took any damage. Now, I'm giggling here because we actually have Hyperflight Rotors coming up right now for Maru as well. An upgrade that we don't see all too often, although we did see it earlier on in this tournament too.
We did.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well that time, but maybe Maru can get some value out of it. But so far, yeah, he got shut down pretty hard.
He absolutely did, so it ended up really needing the Roach Swarm. But I think he was also starting to get suspicious of Mech, and now they've seen that it was Blue Flame, you do have to give Mech some credit. Because even though it's not really in the meta right now, Maru has been the one to try and even set that meta, right? So we had him go into Mech, and everyone said, oh, is Mech now a thing again? And that was towards the beginning of this map, Plumber Tropical Sacrifice being one of the ones that he used it on, so it's perhaps the least surprising to see it here. So Solar is mindful of that, even though it's been a little while since Maru's really been throwing out the Mech builds. But with this opener, Maru's tendency to change things up in best ofs and just it being the map again, I'm glad that Solar, I think, is aware of it, and the Spire play is going to hopefully help deal with these Banshees. However, the speed on the Banshees does make them quite tricky to catch. We won't actually see the Spire. I don't even know where it was put down.
I think it's inside of the, it's right over here at the third base. It's in one of those locations that you don't normally expect. And Maru hasn't seen it, although it's probably something that he's assuming right now. Well, if he didn't know, he's going to find out at this point, since the units have shown up at his third base. There are a bunch of Cyclones available, but you know what, Zombie Grub? I'm liking this position for Solar a lot. He's held his opponent's aggression pretty smoothly. He's now dealing a ton of damage on the other side of the map, and so far, even though Maru is the favorite going into this series, Solar is looking solid.
I mean, more than solid. This is super impressive to come out here and just handle this. It looks like he predicted Maru to do this, and I just would not say he actually did. I think he just read the question marks and was able to deduce it down enough to say, I think this is a good plan. And he was right. You know, maybe a little bit of guesswork has come in here, but the execution on the defense, the swiftness of the follow-up, the confidence that is being shown here from Solar, all combining together to get him this victory. And yes, a lot of it is the surprise mutas, but again, Solar could have died with those Blue Flame Hellions.
Yeah, the alternative would have maybe been like, well, even more Banshee play or even a Battle Cruiser, right? Since Maru's already going for all of this crazy stuff, it would be uncommon, but I think the Muta play or the Spire play in general would pretty much always work out right here for the Zerg player. He's hunting down the final units right now of Solar. That front door is wide open. GG is called. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to find out exactly what the follow-up from Maru is going to be. Solar, on the other end, just going for the typical Zerg approach where he is just trying to defend. He's got a good amount of links available. Link speed is going to finish up. Metabolic boost in about 10 seconds as well. I like that one Reaper sticking around on the high ground for a little bit longer just to get a few more shots in. But at this point, the Marine production has started up, so no additional Reapers coming out of those barracks. That means that Solar with link speed is going to be able to take this third hatchery pretty easily. Widowmine drop going into the natural right now. Very quick reaction speed right there from Solar. Pulling the drones away and not taking a lot of damage. Maybe the Widowmine in the main base, though, can get something done.
tries to target it, but quick enough pull away there from Solar. So far so good on the defense, but Widow Mines are pretty common in any matchup. They might be handled perfectly.
Yeah.
The first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. But then they aren't, and suddenly it snowballs from there, and Maru's going to try and kind of cause that effect, encourage that effect, but even some Reaper micro. I mean, you got to really keep in mind from the Zerg's perspective, they're thinking, please God, don't let me get 10, 20 drones killed, but also I have to defend, and Maru's probably macroing like a god behind this. So this has got to be really, really clean to be good for the Zerg.
Maru hitting a small little supply block right there, and Solar, honestly, so far playing a really clean series. He's once again finding himself in a good spot. I'm expecting a 4th hatchery, but actually just now started up. Got a little bit lucky right there in the commentary. Love to see that. Anyways, he decided to go for the 12 o'clock position, and it's difficult for Maru to keep track of exactly what is going on, right? You brought up the pocket base a couple times already. Maybe Zergs don't like to take it early, but it's always an option, especially if you want to go for, well, like a macro hatchery, right? You may as well take that in the pocket base location instead. For now, honestly, I'm not minding this position for Solar here at all. It was a little bit better a few minutes ago, but up to this point, he's been playing a stellar series for sure.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of is similar to the last time they played here, though, just a few weeks ago, where I would say Solar did really great job not letting Maru's playstyle get to him and even doing the correct balance of taking it seriously but not over-defending. And then he got to Lurkers, but he was already kind of far behind in regards to the hatchery count as well as creep spread. And I would say the creep spread is okay so far because Maru got these base snipes, so he hasn't really focused on clearing up the creep, more in the midsection of the map.
All right, now finally that pocket expansion is coming up. Forced to cancel. He's going to remake that. A couple minerals here and there is what Maru is gaining with these cancels. He's setting up a lot of multi-pronged harassment here, but the Zerg's still in a pretty nice defendable location as he's slowly transitioning towards more and more upgrades. Maru in that department, though, is a little bit ahead with his own 2-2, but Solar's not too far behind. Now here, once again, do we have an engagement? Widow Mine's constantly retargeting, and he does eventually get a nice detonation right there.
Yeah, Solar, this is going to be the difficult spot if you can't get that creep up as well. Maru's going to continue just hitting it. You see the little line of blue ants coming to the north as Maru knows he can continue to pressure this spot. Solar's not going to break him soon enough to stop it. He's also got that drop on the backside, continuing to deny what is supposed to be a very safe big pocket base. It's not safe at all. And then here comes those Widow Mines, which actually haven't been a part of the main engagement for us as, I guess, so much. Now there's 5 of them, or 4, okay? They're going to continue increasing, right? He's got those 2 factories. He does have drilling claws on the way. It's going to get more brutal.
Yeah, this is looking much better right now, though, for Maru. Constantly trying to force that Zerg army off creep, and that's why he's denying that creep spread as well to the best of his abilities. Hydras at this point, though, do have their ranged upgrade, if I'm not mistaken, and that does allow him to outrange those Widow Mines a little bit easier. And that may help out with the defense, but honestly, Maru is not slowing down on the aggression right here. He needs to be very careful against those Banelings. A lot of them just finished up, but once more, he's backing off creep. Ready to, well, load them all up. Unless
Solar gets a surround and some really great Baneling hits, we are going to be seeing just too much of a picking apart. Maru's not messing up. He's not getting too friendly fired by his own Widow Mines. I mean, it's a chance that he overcommits, and if you are rattling as a Terran player and you actually lose the front-end battle, then it's a real retreat. You have to retreat fully. But, you know, if you're taking these engagements, you can always stay here. And Solar, he's not getting any farther ahead. At this point, he's also not clearing up some of these Widow Mines. They're going to get the second shot. More Marauders are going to make this a tankier, chonkier composition. And, of course, Maru is going to be prepared with Ghost if Lurkers were to make their way out.
Yeah, the only way that I can really see him stopping this aggression here is with Lurkers. Instead, he decided to go for the Hive for now, so he's not going to be able to get to that tech route anytime soon. Maru right now, though, creating a chokehold on that base. GG is with that cold as well. Yeah, not getting a whole lot of scouting information in this particular game, but that is A-okay right here from Maru. He's going to have a bunch of units out, and you know what? They're going Overlord hunting.
Yes, they are.
It's a bit of a dangerous moment. If you're not too familiar with Starcraft 2, you might imagine that Zerglings are already out here, but Solar maximizing the drone income. But here's the Widow Mine drop headed towards the natural. This is not something that Solar sees until right about now.
Right, he probably was thinking more so about the Hellbats once he saw that armory, but he was paying attention to the mini-map. The Spore Crawler here is going to help detect, so he at least was a little suspicious of something needing a Spore Crawler.
Beautiful.
And these Widow Mines are not going to get much damage done. Well, that was pretty good.
Yeah, they got a couple Zerglings though, but that is okay here for Solar. I mean, preferably he loses 1 Zergling against each of those, but he is totally okay with not losing half of his worker count at this point. As he transitions right now towards the lair, we did already see a Roach Worm, but he canceled that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought maybe he thought it was a armory for Hellbats, but then I think he did quickly say, oh no, it's one of mine. And whether that was when they hit or not, I'm not 100% sure, but...
It's interesting, for sure. We have Solar, by the way, transitioning towards Banelings and Baneling speed right now, as well as the 1-1 upgrades. So both players transitioning towards a conventional mid-game here, but the early game has been a little bit unorthodox, for sure. This double Hellbat drop, getting a drone, okay.
Does he have 4 Hellions in total? No, so that is literally all the ones he had. Because I was going to say a quadruple Hellion drop might have been more effective there.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, he decided to go for the Hellbats here instead. I guess he already had the armory done. He's like, you know what, these units are left over from earlier. Maybe if he did have the additional 2 Hellions still available, he would have actually brought them instead. But anyways, he now scans the opponent's natural. He sees the Hydralisks then. He now knows exactly what he's playing against. And this is Solar setting himself up for a nice little macro game.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, Data C has always been our big macro map in Terran versus Zerg. We've seen a lot of like 45-minute games on this particular map. So the main problem right now for Solar, though, is going to be that follow-up. So you brought up the additional barracks. They're going to finish up their reactors right now, and that means that Maru is going to be able to pump out a ton of those Marines all in one go. Is he going to wait, though, until Tuto is done, or is he just going to continuously be aggressive here?
He's going to continuously be aggressive. He did add 3 additional reactors, so we know that he's also been playing a little bit more with the mass bio style. So not an ARAX all-in, but still not going for a very fast second factory. But with the additional reactors, no tech labs, I don't think it's quite that. I do think he is committing quite a bit to the mid-game aggression, but a little bit more of a backup than what we'd say is a very, very committed ARAX attack. And with 2-2 upgrades still on the way too, like it really would just be the lack of tanks and Widow Mine production that would hurt if this aggression doesn't really work out.
Yeah, so he has started up a 4th command center just before, or sorry, after the barracks, whereas in a conventional game we would normally see them coming up after the 4th CC. Small little deviation, but it's going to allow Maru more units right here in the mid game and slightly less economy. He might be able to use that as well. Yeah, Solar has been scouting. He hasn't seen much, so he may very well assume that everything is normal now. There's a huge clump of Marines, and they do get it, but at the cost of a ton of those units as well.
Yeah, hard to say that was quite worth it, because you also have to really fully evacuate at that point, right? You don't get to, you don't have the follow-up army behind it that continues to hammer that point. It was all the way to the left, actually, which didn't really get much done.
Lurker's now coming up for Solar as well. He's gone into the Hive upgrade, and he's not slowing down with his own tech either. So despite the fact that Maru may very well be planning on playing a more aggressive mid-game here, he probably wanted to go for an all-out attack with 2-2. He decides to now, well, he can still do it, but it's going to be much harder here with Solar having a good amount of creep spread available already and making that transition towards those high-tech units.
I would actually say if Maru doesn't get something done with this particular push, it'd be very favorable for Solar. Because if he pushes this back, right, and Maru is sent packing like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to go into the late game. He's starting his transition to the late game still a bit later with all the choices he's made, where Solar is preparing for the late game, with the Lurker Den actually finishing his Hive also done. Could start the upgrades, but first has to deal with this attack. Also trying to get a Ling run by in, but Maru was prepared for that.
Yeah, I feel like you almost have to give up that hatchery and just go for a full-on counter-attack instead. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to break those siege tanks right there on the right. He's maybe going to try with Zerglings coming in from the side as well, and that's exactly what he does. Suddenly, the Zerg army is collapsing on top of this bio force, and it turns out he's got more than enough to shut down this drop.
Very nicely done there by Solar, making sure to come in for a surround, kind of negate the tanks a little bit, and then also force those Marines into an awkward corner that they, of course, had to pick up from. Now, Maru still has a cleverly placed tank on the backside behind a little bit of that brush as well, so that's going to really help out. He has played this map very well strategically with the map placement of his tanks. That's actually been really impressive to watch, but it has been difficult killing Solar on this map. This is what happened exactly again last time they played on Data C. Maru's not going to give up on the aggression. He's got a couple of tanks here to help anchor him, but Solar, once again, ready to go. He doesn't have as much creep spread this time around, but it is going to be, I think, enough Zerg that Maru's going to have to respect that and get out once again.
Yeah, and the next attack wave that Maru decides to go for as well is going to be faced with Vipers. Vipers are going to be super powerful in these engagements. If they can shut down the Marines temporarily, they can force them to back off. If they can throw a blinding cloud or maybe even some abductions on top of those siege tanks, that would be absolutely lethal.
Maru's going to try and find him out of position, but Solar really seems to be identifying how Maru is going to play this out kind of pacing-wise. He was totally prepared for the 2 medevacs off to the left and is once again prepared on the right side. Blinding Cloud taking out 1 of 3 tanks, another one on the second, and once again Maru with that last second split is going to try to at least keep something alive as he retreats, but it's not going to be as much as he was hoping for.
Okay, so here we go. Solar is very deep off creep. That spread has been denied quite nicely here by Maru, but that's really all he's got done. I mean, worst case scenario right now for Solar, you morph in a couple Lurkers. That's exactly what he does. Maybe, though, they take a while to finish. Maybe this is the opportunity that Maru is looking for. He's going to need a little bit of time. The Banelings are going to finish up in a moment.
Yeah, those are the Banelings on the way.
Yeah.
Still no Lurkers. Some Lings coming on the right side. Help those Banelings actually make the connections without the Marines to cover the tanks. The tanks are easy enough to take care of. Maybe not with the Banelings. That might not be on purpose, but it is something he's taken care of. I think Maru, you know, it's never really been an entirely full 100% retreat, so he has been able to take advantage of Solar not having a lot of that creep spread and not quite being able to fit in those Lurkers, but it really seemed like it was a matter of time, unless Solar really messed up, and he did not. So he is going to help himself now by getting those Lurkers. Now the 9 Lurkers on the field, soon to have both of their upgrades, will be able to work against this army fantastically, because the Vipers will take out anything that is problematic, like a tank or like a Liberator.
Yeah, you can abduct those units inside of those spines right here as well. There you go. Of those Lurkers, abducting whatever you can as the Terran is trying to disengage. Now Solar's like, you know what, you wanted to fight, come back here. This is the problem here for Maru, who can't engage into this army with just the units that he's got. He really needs to make a transition towards, at the bare minimum, a bunch of Marauders.
Right.
But preferably something like Ghosts, maybe even Liberators as well. Okay, he does start up a group of Ghosts right now, but now the Lurkers are on the offensive. It's going to be a while until he's got enough to actually shut this down. There's still Lurkers around?
Kind of, yeah. The Lurkers are going to surround this army. They're going to have to pick up, or either way, they're going to be on top of the reinforcement line and also hammering away at that economy. Those 3rd CC SCVs are probably just dead as Maru is focusing on the left side.
GG. Yeah, triple CC Banshee openers are still pretty safe overall.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be something that we're going to see out of Maru here. Though he's been favoring that Liberator play quite a bit as well, which is kind of cool to see. Something that we didn't have a whole lot over, well, the course of 2022 in general. It's one of those units that fades in and out of popularity. It trades spots with the Banshee. Now we're seeing a mix of the two once again, which is kind of cool. Hey, you got a drone.
Oh, there you go.
He's not going to be able to scout much, Solar that is, so there is a chance that he's going to be caught off guard against the amount of Marines that Maru is producing here. But we saw him in a similar situation earlier in this series as well, and even in the moments of crisis, Solar seemed to keep his head cool, and honestly, seeing this amount of Marines here is quite nice already. At the very least, he knows that he's going to need to have some units out on the battlefield, and that's exactly what he does. He's actually producing a lot of Links right now. And there's 2 more Barracks on the back of this as well from Maru, so he's certainly got something in store for us. Now that Cloak Banshee shows up, so this is a weird Banshee, and I kind of like it. Normally we'd be seeing something like medevac production here, but instead we have a Banshee slowly working away at those drones and getting a good amount of damage in. There's no lair, there's no spore crawlers, this is completely unscouted. And, well, Solar had a good amount of workers, but he's going to lose quite a few of them.
I mean, you're right to point out this delayed the medevacs, right? This could have been maybe even a faster drop to start things off as opposed to Banshees, or just a faster push. But opting for the Banshee kind of works out. 10 drones are killed. It's going to be able to help out with the attack or the defense. Even scouting run-bys is really helpful. And now Solar, who already cut drones to prepare for an attack, they didn't really come, and I think he was hoping it would, also loses more drones. So just the way that the races work, right? When the Zerg play is kind of boppity, bumpy, it's like drone, Zerg, no wait, drones, oh, army. It just looks really bad for them. So the Terran usually, if they're like, you know what, no, I'm not going to attack, I'm going to go macro, we don't really criticize that as much. Let's see if Solar can continue to play as good as he has been, to be up 2-1, kind of recover from this awkwardness as Maru does start his double medevac aggression.
Yeah, he needs to get a lot of work done with this, though, because even though Solar lost a lot of units earlier and he's lost a bunch of drones, he's got a very good economy already. We still don't have a 3rd command center, do we?
No, he's very dedicated on 2 bases.
Yeah.
It's just that, so okay, yes, Solar is right that Terran is going to be aggressive to him. He is right to make an army. Then again, the problem of being Zerg, you want to get those drones out first and foremost, as much as you can without dying, and then build that big army. If you're kind of doing both at the same time, even though mentally, like, you're like, no, I prepare for the attack, don't I win? You're going to peter out more than the Terran player will. So that is the concern if Solar runs out of steam, basically.
All right, well, we're going to have to find out exactly what will go down with this fight. Maru needs to deal a significant amount of damage in order to justify his attack. Solar does not have main speed, and he does not have 1-1 done, so he's actually a little bit late when it comes to those upgrades here, at least, you know, as far as his own preference goes. But he's got a good amount of economy. He's now setting up a huge run-by as well, or maybe a surround on the right side of the map.
I think he's going to try and go for a surround. There's currently 4 medevacs, though, so if Maru picks up on this, he could pick up, literally without a 6, actually. So he could pick up most of his army. He will lose the tanks, but all these Marines staying alive will be a huge problem. The lack of centrifugal hooks is just too impactful on this map. It's just too impactful in this match up, and that is going to be it.
Anyways, what do you have right here, Zombie Grip?
2 racks if third SCV's not coming out.
This is a funky spot as well, right? It's like right in between, like... Okay, maybe the Overlord's actually going to scout it, but Solar definitely has gone for a variety of scouts with those OVs. He's actually going to spot it relatively early, but that's still a wall-off right there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the benefit of this, right?
Drones are pulled, and that's mostly just to push back the Marines once they do pop out, and there's the first one. Jimmy is ready to work on those workers, but honestly, the drones are pretty strong.
Well, here's the thing about the wall-off, right? Like, yes, it stops a full surround, but there's no cleverness to it as far as where the Marines can pocket themselves.
Jimmy, no.
Which is sometimes able to happen on other places to put the 2 racks. But once you have a few more Marines, the drones can no longer combat them, so they have to be pulled back. And the question is, you know, does the bunker get up or not? In this case, the bunker already about 75% done. You're going to have the micro battle commence, but that SCV still healthy on the bunker. Should be able to finish it. Now the question is, do Marines get inside of it? Is Solar is trying to go for this around. If he loses too many drones right here, that could already spell disaster for the Zerg. And he is yet to get the full surround. He's not going to nip this in the bud. There are going to be more Marines on the way. But the bunker, maybe that has to be salvaged, and that could still be something going well for Solar.
Yeah, the Queen ready to body block against those Marines as well. Bunker still have quite a bit of HP, but I really like what Solar is doing here overall, though. That bunker is nice, he says, but what about that? Just don't let your units even get close to it. Nice zoning right there from the Zerg, and we're going to transition.
Yeah, that ended up being excellent zoning. So again, if he had lost, let's throw out there 6 or 7 drones killed, then you'd be kind of like, oh no, this game fun. Good. But I think that's acceptable. Stopping the bunker from doing more damage. Maru was not fully committed to this anyways. It was just a 2 racks, but
yeah, getting the Overlord right there. Got popped into the lava. It's actually quite annoying here. Solar is not in a particularly great position here either. Every little bit of damage here counts for sure, but yeah, Maru is going to have to come up with something on the back of this as he now goes for a starport as well. One of the barracks is going to be a massive Overlord as it flies into the main base, and good luck trying to hide anything right now if you're Solar.
Yeah, that's the downside here. Solar's not going to be able to hide anything. So often, especially it feels like for Korean Terrans and especially Maru, the follow-up to a 2 racks is going to be a Hellion drop, and that is exactly what it's going to be.
There is, however, a good amount of creep inside of the main base of the Zerg already, so I don't expect this is going to be able to get too much damage done. Link speed is finishing up, though. It's actually kind of late, yeah. Maybe he can get there right before the Zerglings can get in the right place. Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
There's one tiny little bit of dark space here. Well, you know what? This may actually work out much better than I anticipated.
Already 6 drones is nice because he didn't lose anything for it, right? At worst, if Maru was a worse player, he was going to mess up his macro, but he did not. So the armory's done. More Hellions have been made. Even the Marines coming along here. Solar still droning.
Yeah.
Does not anticipate such a committal. This could be disaster for the Zerg.
He's up 2 more right here. He's going for a cheeky creep tumor. He thinks he's playing against a macro Terran here, but in reality, Maru is ready to go for another push. It's going to be just Queens and Zerglings. Now, there's not that many Queens available, but they have a little bit of energy. I mean, there's another one coming from the main base. Zerglings going around the back. Medevac gets sniped out of the sky. This is, well, once again, excellent crisis management here from Solar, but does he actually have enough?
It's still unideal, right? Because he did have a little bit of that shock. His Queens weren't already prepared and actually shooting down what they can before Maru even really engaged. So it's still awkward, and it is distracting, as Solar is also having to handle the Liberator in the main base. Actually does handle it pretty quickly. Hopefully pulls these drones away as well. We'll lose that last Queen, but this will not kill Solar. It just kept them a little bit down in that supply. We're right back in the droning afterwards.
Solar making this transition towards the mid-game that we've seen him play time and time again so far in this series and in this tournament. He's got a good amount of creep spread, especially on the left and in the middle section of this map, and now he's putting down some tumors as well over at his newly acquired 4th base. Gonna be important because, well, now Maru is gonna start piling on the pressure, right? He's done this time and time again where he's constantly hitting his opponent. But honestly, I'm liking this position here from Solar a lot. He's in a, yeah, he's defended pretty much all of the aggression here from the opponent well enough. And he's at a good amount of economy, maybe not as much as fast as he would have liked, but he's finding himself in a good spot overall. If he can shut down this attack in particular, I think he's going to be in a wonderful position.
It's not like Maru streamlined his build order to get to this point, right? He also had to throw in the Hellbats and the drops and all that to actually get somewhere. So it's not the most punchy perhaps, but it is still intimidating, especially if this creep spread is gone, which of course it is gone in an instant. And now he can try and abuse this bridge. Once again, Maru opting for the fast 8 racks before any additional factories or command center is going to look to keep up this aggression. Remember last time this happened, Solar was able to kind of get that surround and really stop it hard enough that he had time to breathe. This time could be very different.
All right, bailing speed is done. Here we go. Solar is ready to engage as he's also going for a big counterattack, actually. He decides to move back for just a moment, allowing the Terran player to get very close to that 4th hatchery, but he's losing SCVs at home right now.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Last time there was a couple of Marines that stopped this from doing big damage. 14 SCVs go down, and, well, Solar actually brings us back. They try and go for a big surround, a lot less creep spread to work with. The hatchery does also fall in the midst of this, and now Maru is completely surrounded. Has a couple of medevacs to pick up these last few Marines and continue with at least some form of aggression, but actually only 6 survive. These ones are left to die. They're all Sarah Kerrigan. I'm sorry.
Too soon. Spoiler, what?
Too soon.
It's only been 20 years. I didn't finish that one yet.
I didn't get to that point. Anyways, more Marines are already here because we are rallying through them through the middle of the map with all of those barracks pumping. You don't really get all that much time to breathe, and that's all you really need as the Terran, is a couple of Marines to live. And if you don't have Banelings, you don't have a chance in this matchup. Solar is again on the ropes in Game 5 versus Maru, and it looks like Maru is once again going to get the better of this Zerg player. Solar plays so damn well for so long, but Maru is just too much of a king to topple.
Solar bleeding out as many units as possible right now. He's trying to get them all out of those cocoons as quickly as he can. But does he eventually have enough to push all of this back? I'm with you here. It's going to be very difficult to break that. There's still a huge Terran train, though, moving through the center of the map. Just trying to bring everything across. The fact that all of the creep is gone at this point, right, is super difficult. And that's exactly what Maru is setting up for right now. He knows that his opponent can't properly engage with those slow Hydralisks. I mean, he's going to finish up Muscular Augments here eventually, but just a bunch of Hydras versus Siege Tanks and Marines? I don't think it's going to be enough.
I don't think it's going to be enough. Just shy of it, especially because Maru finishes up his 2-2 upgrades. And with the continued rallying of the Terran units, that is going to be it. Maru takes game number